Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another whiskey review. And today we are going to be talking about a very special whiskey. I think you should get to know it, even though I do know the availability of this whiskey is limited. Still, want to put this on your radar. Today we are going to be talking about the Whiskey War Double Double. This is a double oaked blend of ryes and bourbons, but it was double oaked twice. So it was put in new oak barrels and then put in new oak barrels again, thus the double double on the finishing. This is coming out of Columbus, Ohio, with products that are typically sourced from Indiana. But this is quite the amazing blend and finishing process, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. So thank you for joining me today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. Got a little bit of a taste here as we go through this review. But yes, we are talking about the Whiskey War Double Double. If you're not familiar with Whiskey War, it is coming from High Bank in Columbus, Ohio. When it comes to the Whiskey War brand, they are getting Indiana sourced bourbons and ryes, blending those together, and typically double oaking them or finishing them in some sort. But they have a variety of labels. This one is the Double Double. This has come out as a yearly special release the last couple years and has repeatedly been the winner of many awards, including the San Francisco Whiskey Awards. And I think sometimes it maybe is easy to, dismiss some of the award winners when they put double gold and things all over the labels. Nope, this one lives up to it, man. I can see why this one stuck out from the herd. So let's get into some of the statistics here. First, the price. This one is $99, and I got this in Ohio from an OHLQ store. Comes in at 116 proof, and while it's not on the bottle, on the website, it says aged at least 5 years. Keeping in mind, this is a blend of bourbons and ryes, plus you have the double finishing process in there. Well, let's get into the flavor notes here and walk through the scores on this one. But me personally, I'm quite excited to be able to drink this again with all of you. So cheers, everybody. Let's get into this thing. So we're going to get into the nose, and then we'll go through each step of the palate and into the final scores. And we'll talk about whether this should be one that you should hunt down, particularly if you have the ability to get this from Ohio. Oh, man. The nose is gorgeous. And I will say, the whole blend, for the most part, is very rye leaning. So when it says on the front that is a blend of straight whiskeys, I think the rye component of that is higher than the bourbon component, though I do think the bourbon component does a lot to potentially even this thing out. But then it's hard to say what comes from the double oaking process and the bourbon when it comes to some of the sweetness. But in general, off the nose, this immediately presents itself as a rye much older than 5 years as age stated on the website. If you didn't know what this was and you're like smelling it blind, I think you're going to lean towards it being an 8 to 10 year rye. It gives off that type of profile where the oak really starts to take over and you get that wood in there. In addition to the rye, it takes an older rye for that oak to really start getting into that. And I think this one does it. The other flavors that come off those, I mean, the rye is definitely there. As I said, this is rye leaning, but there are these like layers upon layers of sweetness. And the thing that intrigues me the most about this one, and it'll continue to do so throughout this tasting, there are tropical fruits. There are tons of fruits that you typically wouldn't associate with something that I'm calling rye leaning, but there are a lot of tropical fruits, mangoes, star fruits, toasted coconut. Most of it's bright leaning. There's even some apples and some pears. A lot of fruits going on there, mostly on the brighter side. But they are all blended together there and just covered in sugar sweetness. So that is just the delightful part about this particular blend and the rye here. Let's get into the taste. Hmm. I will say, up front, from a mouthfeel perspective, this is one that you just want to chew on. It is so rich, oily, and thick. Coats everywhere. I got to imagine that's coming from that double finishing process. And then, gosh, in terms of the flavors, yeah, once again, the tropical fruits, those are coming through even up front, essentially all covered in brown sugar. That's what you're going to get initially. Let's get into mid palate. Man, mid palate, it does brighten up a bit with vanilla. Those tropical fruits just continue to come through. So, if you get excited about tropical fruit notes, this is definitely a whiskey for you. The characteristics of a double oak do come through around mid palate. Gonna find things that people characterize as toasted marshmallow. That sweetness does come through in addition to all the fruits. And the fruits get so sweet. I mean, they even have like a hard candy Jolly Rancher quality to them. There's also a very strong rye blast mid palate, though as we get into the finish, things do change a little bit. Man, and it really roars into the finish. I think the finish is probably the strongest part of this, and it has a lot of strong parts already. But all of those flavors that I just described really escalate in the finish. Begins to finish more like a bourbon though than a rye. A lot of caramels, a lot of vanillas coming through, and man, that vanilla coming through even comes through as almost a rich icing. You get that double oaked quality to it, so the toasted marshmallows there. But yeah, it just leaves you with those caramels and those vanillas more so than the rye spice. I'm gonna take one more sip, see if I got anything else. No, I think that about does it there. And as you see all the scores on the screen, we are talking about pretty much each step of the flavors and the experience being elevated beyond average. When we get beyond a 7 there, that's when things start getting exciting, and this one has a lot of exciting qualities to it. So on balance, gave it a 9, and then when it comes to the value, $99 for an experience like this. I mean, there are some people that are trying to pass off this type of flavor and this type of experience for twice the price. So these are the type of things we do love to hunt for when we can find something that bats this high below $100. It is worth talking about. So then in terms of the final scores, gave it an 85 when it comes to the flavor, an 88 with the experience just due to the oiliness, the complexity, and the length of this finish. And then the value, I want to buy a backup bottle for this for 99. And when we're talking about buying a backup bottle, that means it is worth the value, clearly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be buying a backup. Man, $99, really, really good value for what this one's giving you. So that leaves it at a final score of an 88 out of 100 and all-time ranking since we began the scoring system in January of 2023. This makes the top 20 out of 151. So we are talking about, comparatively speaking, a very elevated pour. And thus far, though the year is young, this is my favorite whiskey of 2024, but it is only, as of recording, February 2024. We have a lot more whiskey to explore as we go through the months. But to add to all of the awards that this whiskey gets when it comes to the various competitions where it has won gold and double gold, I am also going to bestow on it the first ever certified gold from the channel. Going forward, anything that scores above an 85 in our scoring system is essentially a certified gold pour that we think nearly everyone's going to enjoy. Though keep in mind here, this is a rye leaning whiskey. So my words are caveated with the fact that you got to like ryes. but we are going to give this our first certified gold ribbon here. Congratulations to Whiskey Wars and High Bank. I mean, this is just impressive stuff. I had to talk around with some people that have some other experiences with this double double, as it has been an annual release. And I was told on good authority that while it's always been good, this batch 3 that came out this year is something special. And I got to agree. So if you can find this, look it up. I think it might be an OHLQ exclusive, but if you're in one of the neighboring states, see if you can drive up and grab one of these. I think it'd be well worth the hunting and well worth the trip. So let me know in the comments if you've had a chance to try this double double or any of the prior years, what you think of Whiskey War in general. And if you haven't had a chance yet to try anything from High Bank and the Whiskey War brand, hey, maybe this is the time to get in. There is some good stuff coming out of Columbus, Ohio. Well, thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. We'll catch you on the next whiskey review. Goodbye, everybody.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you